Be a voice, not an echo. That is our quote of the week. Hey everyone, welcome to Coffee Chat with Danny, where we are live every Monday, bringing you a new quote, a new quote of the week to help you shift gears as we enter our new week, get our head straight, our mind straight, and give you one little thought to think about for the next week as you come across some of the things that we may talk about. My name is Danny. For those of you that don't know me, I help people make choices that honor their best self by transforming their lives, shifting their mindset, getting rid of those negative limiting beliefs, leave what is in the past because we're headed to a successful future. All right, so today's quote, be a voice, not an echo. There's two things I want to talk about first, and then I want to tell you a little bit about why you need to do this. So, number one of the things that I find many people say is that what they have to say has no bearing, has no meaning, that it's not significant, right? And I know that I'm guilty of this as well, because here's the thing. I used to not want to share my voice. I used to not want to tell a story or talk about the things that I know. And even till today, sometimes I find myself stopping, thinking, they already know this. Or it's so small, it's not really going to matter. I perceive now as something so minor and so small that I don't want to talk about it or I don't want to say it. Let me give you an example. I've studied the mind, I've studied relationships, I've studied communication for the years, right? I'm a psychology major, right? I have a degree in psychology. And so studying the aspect of how our mind works, how these ideas and beliefs, how stress comes about, how anxiety comes about, all these different ideas I've studied for 20 years, right? But there's little things within that I just dismiss as people already knowing, or it's so minor that why would everybody knows that, right? Have you ever done that? Have you ever said to yourself, they already know this, right? Or this is so everybody knows this. I think sometimes we'll say, this is common knowledge, right? Have you ever heard that? Or have you ever said that? Let me know. I think we say that all the time, right? Like, oh, everybody already knows that. Or that's common knowledge. And if I think about it, back when I was on my very, very beginning journey of learning more about me, learning about myself, developing myself more from a more conscious effort, right? Really being mindful of what I was studying and what I was listening to and what I wanted to change. And as I was doing that, there was these small concepts that they weren't small to me then. Now I can look back and say, wow, that was such a small thing, but it impacted me in such a big way. And so I think to myself sometimes like, wait a minute, that happened for me. Something that somebody said that was so small impacted me so profoundly. And yet here I am denying people who made. So I think sometimes we don't want to share our voice. We don't want to share our message. We don't want to talk about our mission or our purpose in life because we think everybody already knows this stuff or it's been heard before, right? I don't want to be an echo, right? Everybody already knows this. So moving into point number 2, we think that it's been said 1,000 times. But let me ask you something. Have you ever been in a situation where you have heard the same quote, the same phrase, the same idea 100 times? But yet, this one time you heard it, it completely changed for you and you had this new idea, a new concept around this belief or this idea or this thought or this habit, right? I wasn't always into the law of attraction and wasn't always in the metaphysical. That stuff was kind of like over there for me, right? It was like, that's over there, I'm over here, it stays there, I stay here. But as I started exploring some things and discovering some things about myself and what I liked and what I didn't like, and I started seeing some of these things happen in my daily life, it became apparent to me that this stuff kind of does work. So let's use the example of law of attraction. You may or may not have heard of a law of attraction. You may or may not have heard different ideas about what people have said, right, about law of attraction. And so you might have heard this over and over, that what you give out, you get back, right, kind of idea. You might have even heard that as a little kid, right? What your thoughts are, what you're thinking is what you're attracting back. You might have heard those things, right? If I say that to you and that is a new concept, you're welcome. If I say that and you're like, oh yeah, I've heard that, I want you to think for a second, how many times have you heard that? And how is it different now than it's been in the past? It's interesting that when we actually think about certain things and we take a moment to think it, to really be conscious of it and see how it's relating in our life, right? We might have a different idea about it than we've had in the past. So yes, maybe it's been said 1,000 times. Maybe that idea of if you can create it in your mind, you can hold it in your hand, or some version of that has been said 1,000 times from different people. There might be hundreds of people on YouTube saying the same exact thing. But this brings me to my very last point. You have a different message than somebody else. I have a different message than somebody else. Yes, we may be talking about the same exact thing. But your knowledge, your perspective, your journey is absolutely different than mine or everybody else on this planet. Yes, there's some commonalities that we have, but we're all unique. We're all different. And having that uniqueness about ourselves is why somebody needs to hear your message. There's a girl, she's a coach. She's a business coach, actually. I've found her on Facebook. I heard one of her lives, and I absolutely fell in love with her. I thought, wow, she's really cool, right? I like her. And then I started thinking about it. I'm like, wow, I believe in the same things. I have the same ideas. This is very similar in some of the ideas and concepts that I was kind of teaching at the same time too. And I thought to myself, well, I'm just copying her. I don't want to copy her. Have you heard that where people are like, oh, they took my stuff, they're copying me? Yes, they may have taken your stuff. Yes, they may be saying the same thing as you, but they are giving a different message than you. Okay, there's a difference. There's, if you think about multi-level marketing, all of the MLMs out there, there's so many reps, right? And I hear a lot of them say, well, there's so many other reps out there, they're saying the same thing. My area is really saturated, right? But here's the thing, you are different than them. So if you put that other coach that I was talking about and me together, and we're talking about the same exact thing, her past, her knowledge is different than mine. Her message is going to resonate with certain people. My message, although it's the same, is going to resonate with certain people. So yes, these concepts are the same, but mine is different because of my perspective, my adventure, my journey, my past, my history, and even my beliefs, right? So I'm not saying that you should copy somebody. Don't get me wrong. What I'm saying is, if you have a similar message to somebody else, that's okay. There's 1,000 coaches out there. There's 1,000 health experts out there. There's 1,000 life coaches out there. There's 1,000 whatever it is that you do, right? Reiki practitioners, right? Healers. What else is there? If you think about Arbonne or Mary Kay, have been around for years, right? And those women and those men are still making money. Why? Because they have a particular message that resonates with a particular group of people. So people need to hear you. People need to hear your voice, your experience, your explanation. Not anybody else's. What I'm telling you today is nothing new. You've heard it before, I'm sure. I've heard it before. I've heard it from several different people. But I have a certain perspective on it. I have a certain message about it. I approach it a certain way. So you have a message. You have a voice. People need to hear it. Somebody today needs to hear your voice, your message, whatever that is. They need to hear it. How are you going to deliver it? How are you going to show up for them? And when will you decide that the time is now? All right, so your action item for today, I haven't done this in a while, but your action item for today is to share your message, to be a voice. Don't just copy, but come from your own perspective. Come from your own ideas, your own beliefs. Share your message. Share your message this week, whether that's just with one person, whether that's in a social media post, whether that's when you're out and about talking with people, a client, a customer that you have, a friend, a family. Share it. Share your message with somebody. Somebody needs to hear it today. All right. That is it for us today. Have a great day. I'm going to invite you to come on over to the Empowered You community. This month, we are continuing the conversation about using your voice. And actually, this Wednesday is our virtual talk, which is all around mindset. So what is it and how do you change it? So I will be live in our Facebook group on Wednesday sharing some information on mindset. So I would love to have you join us. You can click the link at the top of this page, or I'll go ahead and put the link down below in the comments. If you're watching this on YouTube, you'll find it down below in the comments as well. And before I go, I'm going to ask you to do me a huge, huge favor. Share this with one person. Share this to one person, to your community, to whoever needs to hear this. And let me just say, you never know who needs to hear it. All right, everybody, have a great rest of your day. Remember to be you and to be amazing. Bye.